Good evening, everyone, to those here in presence and to those watching us live from the comfort of their homes. Thank you for joining us tonight in another ELP graduation. The European Leadership Program is proud to announce the graduation of the 6th cohort of Fall 2021. These fellows have just completed their 5-month-long fellowship on this very day today. My name is Enikő Fehérekova, and I'm assistant of the Jesuit European Social Center and the European Leadership Program, and I will be your hostess for tonight. Hereby, we would like to ask your consent to use the photos and videos taken during this event for advertising purposes. Those who do not wish to appear in the footage, please let us know and we will comply with your request. We kindly remind you, given the current regulations, that wearing masks in the interior is mandatory. We hope that the next graduation can already happen without the COVID restrictions. Allow me to start with thanking our excellent guests for being here with us tonight. We are joined by the keynote speaker, Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich, Archbishop of Luxembourg and President of COMECE. His Eminence joined the Society of Jesus in the province of Southern Belgium and Luxembourg in 1981. In 2011, he was ordained as bishop in the cathedral in Luxembourg. Between 2014 and 2018, he was president of the Conference of the Justitia et Pax Commissions of Europe. In 2017, he was elected to lead the Commission for Young People within the Council of Bishops' Conferences of Europe. A year later, he took over the chairmanship of the Commission. He became president of COMECE in March 2018. On the 8th of July 2021, the Holy Father appointed His Eminence as General Rapporteur of the 16th Ordinary General Assembly of the Synod of Bishops. Our second speaker this evening is Madame Barbara Segaert, Project Coordinator, Europe and Solidarity from the University Center St. Ignatius, Antwerp. I would like to thank Madame Segaert and UCSIA for being a partner in this event and in many of our past graduations. UCSIA supports ELP by hosting an academic paper session of the fellows, by co-organizing the graduation ceremony, and by sponsoring an ELP fellow. Your Eminence, Madame Segaert, thank you both for taking the time to be here with us tonight. Also here today, we have Father Peter Rožič, Director of the Jesuit European Social Center, and present this evening is Botond Feledy, Manager of the European Leadership Program. And of course, most importantly, we have the fellows and our wonderful family. And without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Father Peter Rožič for his welcome address.
Dear friends, Your Eminence, fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, dear graduates, congratulations. You've made it. You've finished the European Leadership Program, and it's a wonderful opportunity for us to celebrate this occasion this evening here tonight in the heart of Brussels. And you can be proud of it. You can be proud of this achievement. And grateful, yes, thankful. Since it's appropriate at the beginning of such a ceremony to share a spiritual moment, why not be actually grateful? So let us do it, here and now. Gratitude. We practice this paramount spiritual exercise of gratitude over the past 5 months through a growing capacity of self-awareness, prominently integrated in the technique of Ignatian examen, which is, as you know now, a prayerful review of the day, of the events of the day, in order to reflect and detect God's presence in our lives and to discern God's direction for us. Yes, St. Ignatius believed that we can discern and find the will of God, which would then help us to decide a range of things that go very deep, our personal joy, mission, vision of our lives, and then those optimal decisions of our daily work and operations. Ignatius invites us to seek and find God in all things, and then to serve and love God, especially through the most marginalized and those not privileged in our society. En todo amar y servir. If you know all that, then you have mastered one of the key elements of the European Leadership Program. A necessary condition, a major takeaway for any alumna or alumnus of a Jesuit formation and educational institution. Today, in fact, you're joining hundreds of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Jesuit alumni globally, which actually include many here present. Cardinal Hollerich, Monsignor Škrlec, Father Barrios Prieto, Father Jean Martins, but not only priests and Jesuits, but also many of us who went through some formative experience within Jesuit and Ignatian institutions, including yourself now, ELP alumni. Yet the mere knowledge about this kind of spirituality is not sufficient. ELP, as any program, requires practice. That is why St. Ignatius called his masterpiece spiritual exercises. You do the exercise. So while any alumni here present in this room or online could guide us through this examen, why don't we do it here right now? And while you may resist it, saying, are we praying during the graduation? And come on, gratitude again. We had so much of these self-reflective and reflective exercises so far. Again? Well, maybe why not? And you know why? Because you actually demanded it. I was so edified over the past few days that the second semester fellows wanted to have a final spiritual moment of reflection as sharing 2 days ago on Thursday. And the first semester fellow this noon today, again sharing, doing the examen together. And we saw how important that was for us. Then to realize how much support we have received and how much support we now want to give back. And how much the community aspect, even though not that easy, was most likely the key element to the program. So let us then practice this gratitude that you do demand. And let us do it right now. Gratitude first for you, graduates. We are thankful for you. Thank you for joining the program. Thank you for finishing it, because you will be the ambassadors of the spirit of it. And all those who supported you in this process. Many coaches and mentors and professors that came, and others, the community around you. And we will be needing those support structures, and you will be needing them as you now go out and continue your mission. You will need each other as friends, and you may still continue to consult your coaches and do spiritual accompaniment and so on. And then second, let us be grateful for what is deepest in us this evening, or around us, what unites us. And we may call it love, purpose, God, divine meaning. So let us do so. Let us align ourselves. You need to take a physical position, right, so that you are relaxed and you can breathe. Maybe take a few, people are moving. Take a few deep breaths so that the oxygen gets to our brain. And I align myself, and for the next 60 seconds in this Ignatian tradition, I will simply be grateful for the many fruits and gifts received over the past 5 months. So let us stay in silence for these really precious moments. then in the silence of your heart, of my heart, I just say in my own language, thank you. To whatever I think I now pray or am I spiritually connected with, just say hvala, danke, merci, köszönöm. And now I open my eyes. You all have your eyes closed. I stretch out, yes, because I need to come back to the room. I'm still here at the graduation. This is my evening. I want to celebrate and continue with full strength in the spirit that we share. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you, Peter. Now I would like to call to the floor Mrs. Barbara Segaert.
I am happy to open the 6th session already of the ELP graduation ceremony, which our University Center, St. Ignatius Antwerp, UCSIA, has been supporting since its inception. UCSIA also hosts, like Eniko just said, the jury session at the University of Antwerp, where the fellows present their papers. It's a pity we couldn't do it in February, but we hope to gather again in person in June. It is amazing to see how the program has developed at such rapid speed, offering a growing number of young fellows a life-changing experience in the heart of the EU. ELP is now a structural part of UCSIA's thematic project line, Europe and Solidarity, next to the summer school on European Humanism in the Making, which we organize annually in Italy for students of the 50 member institutes of the European Federation of Catholic Universities. We focus on the roots of Europe, the cultural and intellectual components of its identity and its values, by critically assessing their nature and often wanting application, also focusing on the perception from the other side, the outside, be it from the other within our societies, the other Europe from the east, the other side of the Mediterranean. We shouldn't forget that Europe grew in diversity, influenced through time by other great cultures, of which it recognizes some more than others. Europe has offered me, personally and professionally, a fascinating, multifaceted voyage through time and space. My name, Barbara, is derived from the Greek designation of the foreigner who brabbles a strange language. As an Orientalist, in itself a charged term since the writings of Edward Said, with a focus on Arab and Islamic culture, I traveled the Maghreb and the Mashriq to discover how close and yet distant, as former colonial territory, the region is from Europe. Through my marriage with a North African, I got another look at Europe's internal diversity. I wish for all ELP fellows to experience the richness of such a cultural exchange, and I welcome the next fellow at UCSIA from Sub-Saharan Africa, who will enrich our team and bring us closer to Jesuit activism in the field of mining and justice, given his research on the labor conditions of workers in the illegal gold mining sector in Congo. To end with a quote by Julia Kristeva, Europe is the only place in the world where identity is not a culture, but a process of questioning. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Barbara. Now, as we move on with the program, we would like to share with you some video testimonies of our fellows about ELP and about their favorite moments.
ELP Fellowship is an extraordinary opportunity that does not only prepare me with tools on how to become a leader I aspire to be, but also gives me the opportunity to meet professionals and role models in leadership. For example, high-level professionals from the EU institutions, community-based advocates and frontliners, and importantly, spiritual leaders from whom we can learn what their values are as leaders.
I had a chance to be part of the ELP cohort twice already. Thanks to the meetings with professionals and also other ELP fellows, I learned how to make decisions more consciously. And I also had a chance to learn about new perspectives that helped me to better understand the social and environmental problems that our society is facing today. Thanks to the support that I received from the ELP community, I definitely developed both professionally and personally as well.
The European Leadership Program has already gave me quite a lot, and I think in the future I'm just going to continue building on what I have learned thus far. It's a great opportunity for young people who are just in the beginning of their career development. It includes three different components. The first one is the networking part, which was a great opportunity to meet a lot of academics and civil servants from Brussels who are actually active on a global scale. Then the second segment is the communal part, which means meeting other young people just like me, which was also a great opportunity to discuss and communicate about topics connected with politics, economics and social affairs. The third segment is the spiritual segment, which was amazing as well, because it made me ask myself a lot of valuable questions, such as what is leadership, how can I become a leader, and what are the challenges for a person to be a great leader.
Why should you apply to the European Leadership Program? I can tell you how I thought. So if you were me, then you would apply because you're looking for a community in Brussels. In summer, I was in the situation of having gained a traineeship offer for the European Commission. I was very happy about it, but I didn't know anyone in Brussels. So I looked for some people who were in the same situation as I found myself in. Curious about the world, curious to explore Europe from Brussels, but not knowing anybody. If you find yourself in the same situation and you're looking for like-minded people who too are curious and friendly and knowledgeable in so many different fields, then you will find a great community in the next European Leadership Program cohort, as I have found in the European Leadership Program cohort of autumn 2021, and I'm really grateful for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the message, fellows. Now, I would like to call to the stage the representative of the Fall Cohort, fellow Camilla Kirai, master's student of Sciences Po and trainee at the European Economic and Social Committee.
Thank you, Aniko. Good evening, everyone. When I was thinking about what should I talk to you about today, I asked some of my fellows, and they unanimously said the same thing. Just be honest. I was like, thank you, that's partly helpful. So what could I say that express my true feelings and make you believe them? So what I found is that, taking Father Peter's advice, I was writing a diary during these past 5 months. And as I flipped through it, I find a part from the 6th of December, which was more or less in the middle of the whole program. And I would like to read it to you. This was after a casual evening in Forshi's house, after a long discussion and long dinner, and after a few glasses of wine. So here it is. Today I was a bit more quiet than usual, even though I had no reasons to be. I like living here. I love my ELP family. A small part of me would like it to last forever. The same part would like to always be surrounded with the same type of people, because we created something special here. And I truly hope that our paths will cross again. I'm just sad because there might be some people that I don't see again. But I have time to think about that. So here we are, 2.5 months later, and I don't have much time left. So I would like to express my gratitude for JESC and especially for Father Peter, for Botond and Gianmarco to make this thing possible and for accompanying us all the way. I would like to also thank the coaches and mentors who guided us and the speakers and guests who took their time and tell us their views on our changing world and inspired us to be better advocates for a brighter future. Finally, thank you for the fellows, for their open-minded spirit. We went through a lot together in these 5 months, and even though growth is a critical topic in our cohort, I can say that we grew a lot together. So a good advice for you, also for myself, is to allow yourself to be proud of your achievements. I know the last month has been tough and stressful for many, because we arrived at the end of the ELP bridge between studies and job market and traineeships and permanent contracts. And we are facing some doubts about our future. But it's all right. Don't forget to stop for a moment and say, this is for myself, Camilla, you did great. You are about to conclude a traineeship and a fellowship. You moderated an event with a commissioner. You interviewed some prominent leaders of your institution. You wrote a paper about it. You defended it. We leave Brussels with tremendous experience, goods and bads, and friendships that will mark our lives forever. About the future, hopefully, our greatest leader will help us to find and follow our vocation, and also help us to stay humble and respectful towards one another. So, as we concluded with the other lay with Lele, I can tell you that everything is going to be fine, because if not, it's not the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Camilla, also for a piece from your diary. Now I would like to call to the stage Emanuela Pizano, the representative of the ELP alumni.
Good evening, everyone. I am searching for a house. This, you might think, it's a weird way to start a speech. But as I am not very comfortable with public speaking, I decided to rather tell you my story. So I am searching for a house. And in Brussels, searching for a house equals the struggle of searching for a job. Yes, because the house market is as competitive as the labor market. Therefore, even if you manage to find a job, this does not mean that you will have a roof above your head. In order to find a house in Brussels, you have to go through a very structured screening process. First, you have an online interview. If you are shortlisted, you are invited for an afternoon coffee with your possible roommates. If you are one of the lucky ones succeeding in this second step, you might also be able to actually see the house. However, it's just when you think that you are going to make it that things can actually turn around, because the agency, the landlord, or your neighbor's dog decided that you are too French or too international, too student or too worker, too tall or too short to actually go through the main door. Long story short, life is always able to surprise you. And Brussels is an incredible example of that. At the beginning, the competition around my house hunting experience stressed me a lot. But after a while, I decided to look at this situation with a different perspective. What if all that stress could be transformed in something fun? In the end, I am getting into people's houses, and I could take some inspiration on how to hang my laundry or how to hide the mess in my room. And again, Brussels surprised me. Inside these houses, in the middle of the city center or hidden streets around the main squares, people created their own lives, shaping the environment around them to make it feel like home. When I first arrived in Brussels, I did not feel home. I was scared to get lost in a city that, in my eyes, was only constantly gray and smelled like fries. The ELP helped me to change this perspective and find a home. It allowed me to get to know people and realities that I would have never experienced otherwise. It allowed me to challenge my limits, to push my boundaries, and most of all, to take risks. The risk to join conversation on topics I've never heard before, with experts waiting for a smart question. The risk to live in a house with 11 people and just as many smells in the kitchen. The risk to be in an uncomfortable situation and find a way to fit in it. I believe that the value of this program is in the diversity of its people, but most of all, in their capacity to create inclusiveness. And today, after 1 year of this incredible program, I would like to tell you my own definition of leadership. To me, a leader is someone able to bring people together, despite their origins, backgrounds, or beliefs. Put them in an uncomfortable situation, but yet have the capacity to make them feel welcome and valued for who they are. The leader does not so because it's eager to shine, but rather driven by the willingness to make others shine. The leader can be found anywhere, in the EU institutions, in your house, along your way to work, or as I know, in this room. But in order to get to know them, you have to be able to dare to ask their name, listen to their story, and invite them to sit around your table. The ELP to me is the outcome of this exercise, a melting pot of stories, dreams, aspiration, coming from all over the world and shaping with their beauty the society of tomorrow. This is the Europe I wish for the future. A Europe able to welcome everyone without discrimination or exclusion. A Europe able to recognize the value of its inhabitants, citizens or not, and grant them the same rights and opportunities. A Europe where all of us, because of our differences, can have the power to drive the change that we want to see in this world. Therefore, I would like to end my speech with a call for action to all these new fellows joining the ELP alumni today. Dear fellows, I invite you to dare, to take risks, and to do not feel comfortable. Keep dreaming, believing, and working hard for the society you would like to have in the future. And from all of us, welcome in the ELP home. Thank you.
Emanuela, thank you very much, and we wish you good luck with finding a new house. The moment has come to share a special surprise from a member of the European Parliament, Damian Boeselager, who is also an ELP speaker and mentor, and who shared a video message with our fellows today.
Dear ELP class of 2022, congratulations for graduating finally, for this great achievement, for going through this program. This is now a new beginning, also like something that ends, which is positive because you made some friends probably, you learned a lot from each other, and you went through a formative program. So congratulations again for graduating this amazing program, ELP. I have only two little points of advice. Both don't come from me because I don't have a lot of great advice to give, but I thought these two things that actually helped me a bit might also help you. One is from a comedian and one is from a priest. So I'll start with the comedian. It's a guy who is called Damian, and he gave a graduation speech once where he says, you don't have to have the biggest plans in your life all set out. You don't need to know already everything that's going to happen. But you can be micro-ambitious, which means like whatever you're currently doing, you can try to do with the best of your abilities. And this is an advice I have been following actually for quite a while, because I think it's a good point that we don't need to know and we can't know everything that will happen, but we can try to be good in the things that we're currently doing. The second point of advice from the priest is something that I learned when working with him, which is that you can at the same time be extremely kind and humble and very strict and precise in the things that you're working on. So there is, I think, a certain kind of honesty in being clear in the work that you're doing, and being also clear with, in the way that you work with your colleagues or your fellow student or whoever it is, and by being very honest about what is being done and very precise, but at the same time being extremely friendly and humble about knowing your own limits and not letting them limit you. So with these little 2 points of advice, I wish you a great ceremony. I wish you all the best, and it was a pleasure getting to know you all in this Q&A session that we had together, and all the best for whatever comes. Don't feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
A very special and inspiring message from MEP Damian Boeselager. I'm sure it will encourage our fellows to lead with purpose. The long-awaited moment has finally arrived. I will now pass the floor to our special guest, His Eminence Jean-Claude Hollerich, for his keynote speech.
So first of all, I would like to congratulate you. And that's a special moment for you, and I'm very happy to be able to share this moment. When I got presented to you, in fact, one part of my history vanished, because before becoming the Archbishop of Luxembourg in 2011, I worked for many years at the Jesuit University, Sophia University in Tokyo. And we also had their global leadership program with other Jesuit universities in Asia, and later on also the United States. And the education aim for our students was men and women, for others, with others. And I think at the beginning it was just for others. That the addition with others is very important, because a leader is a person who is aware that there are other persons. So we speak about diversity, that's good, but we also have diversity in us. So we can speak about diversity without noticing that there are other persons with a different background, a different experience, different opinions. And that the world is full of other persons. So a leader has to be aware of that. A leader then has to be aware of place and time. In the exercise of St. Ignatius, he always said first to look to the place. No, the place for you is Europe. And we have heard a lot of good comments about Europe. So I do not need to add anything. Just one point. There is an ideal of Europe, an idea of Europe, which is old. You know it from Kant already and so on. And the values of the European Union and the European Union as it is now in history is in fact one manifestation of this idea. The idea is bigger. And if Europe loses the idea, and sometimes I was afraid that that could happen, then you lose your heart. And then Europe becomes a political entity just like any other entity. And then we have no leadership. Leadership needs the idea and the ideal of Europe. To get back to time, now I won't speak about COVID, because probably you have heard quite a lot about COVID. But our time is special. And the European Union plays an important part in shaping a new world. You know that the nation state got developed in Europe. So many history books about the birth of the nation state. But the only place where nation state did not disappear but got changed is Europe. And you know, at universities people have normally, when they have European Union studies, a big dilemma. They cannot put European Union studies in international politics because it's not international. But it's not the nation state anymore. So we have a new political entity. We have invented the nation state. And the nation state has brought havoc to the world. And when we see last century, the 2 world wars, but we have overcome the nation state. And this is very important and shows a way for people how to bring lasting peace to the world. It might be very ironic to speak about lasting peace when we know that there are so many Russian soldiers at the border of Ukraine. Our time, we are in a new civilization. I think we are in the biggest change of civilizations since the invention of the wheel. We are in the age 0 of digitalization. And you are, perhaps because you are much younger than me, already in the first 0.1 of this new civilization. And we are not aware how much will change, how much the whole anthropology will change, the perception we have of man. And of course, if the perception of man changes, the perception of politics, of living together, will change. We notice already some beginnings, just the mere beginnings of the change. I think we notice the fragility of democracies. When we had a look on the United States of America and what happened at Congress, we see how fragile democracies are. And also democracies are fragile in Europe. They are fragile because there is a lot necessary for democracies outside of the institutional part. We need a public opinion, people debating, and all of that is slowly vanishing. With the new media, we have friends, likes, and heavy dislikes. And we normally just look for our friends and do not speak with the others anymore. That is a bad basis for democracy. When I was in Japan, I had to learn Japanese culture. I had to get enculturated. So at the beginning, I was reading books about Buddhism, and it was very good that I did all of that. But I noticed then that my students had no clue about Buddhism. They had forgotten about it. When I made a trip with them to Thailand, they asked me, "Sensei, please explain what Buddhism is." I said, "Hey, you are supposed to be Buddhists. I am a Catholic priest. You should explain to me." But the knowledge was not there anymore. Can we be sure that in 20 years' time, people in Europe will still have a knowledge about Christianity? I'm not so sure. Because that is part of the dynamics of this new civilization, that things get forgotten. Things which seemed very important to us. You are young, but there are people who are younger than you. And when I meet these people who are younger than you, it's very difficult to speak with them about books. Most of them haven't read any book, just what was necessary for school. But just out of pleasure to read a novel, let's say by Thomas Mann, they would not dream about doing that. And it's very difficult for them to understand the long sentences of Thomas Mann. Now, when I speak with them about the Netflix series, their eyes lighten up and we immediately can get into the passion of their hearts. That is a change of civilization. I will give you another example. I was with 100 young people from Luxembourg in Thailand. We built a small church in the jungle for the tribal people in the north of the country. And I was listening to music on my cell phone, and the young boy, 16 years old, wanted to listen to what I was listening to. So I gave him my cell phone. He listened attentively for 10 minutes, then gave me the cell phone back laughing and told me, "But that's no music." In fact, what I was listening was a piano concert by Mozart. So some years ago, he would have said, "Oh, classic music I do not like." Now, he didn't identify that as classic anymore. It's again a sign for the change of civilization. Now, many people in this see this change of civilization as something awful, something we have to fear. No, change is good. Change is normal. And I believe, allow me to say that as a bishop and cardinal, that God is present in every age. He's already preceding us. So there is no need to be afraid. But you have to be awakened. You have to see the changes. And you have to see the changes, how they affect structures and people. Because structures are there for people. And you see then leadership is acknowledging these people. What are their deep desires? What is their heart striving for? Of course, you have to be professional. If you are in politics or engineering or whatever, you have to be professional. No? You cannot build a bridge that will fall down. No? But professionalism alone doesn't give you any leadership. You have sometimes very good professionals who are very lousy leaders. Because you need empathy. You need a listening heart. You have to notice what is going on in the heart of other people. Of course, you cannot know all the people of the world. But the people you meet, and you should meet people, no? And you should meet many different people. Not just people who think like you. Because, of course, you speak about diversity. And I loved all what has been said. But never forget that speaking about diversity is like a dogma also. No? You have to praise diversity. But diversity in your group is real, but believe me, there's much bigger diversity in the world. And you have to acknowledge it. You have to embrace it. And you have to find in yourself the strength of, first of all, being you need the strength to be exposed to this otherness. And you need your strength to be creative, to have an intelligence paired with imagination. And then there is still the last thing needed for leadership, a spirit of service. Because if you have this empathy, never fall into the trap of thinking that you are better than others. I mean, the main message of Christian faith is that we are all sisters and brothers. That God has equal love for each of us and for every person on the world. That is what makes God almighty. God is almighty in love and respect and in freedom. So you have to find by the strength in yourself the inner freedom to tackle the problems, take up the problems, put solutions. And not just for the big world problems, but for the small problems which occur in your surrounding, in your life. I must say, I was fascinated by all the speeches I heard. And I am sure that these speeches are the essence of what you are and what you have learned, knowing that everybody is his own best teacher. So, thank you very much. As an old man, I am happy that there are leaders for the future world. And I wish you all the best. And my prayers will accompany you. Thank you for listening.
Your Eminence, thank you very much for the message. Now we will move on to our Q&A session. If you have any questions, comments, encouragement to our speakers or to the fellows, please raise your hand and our colleague will give you the microphone. To be able to give a chance to everyone, please keep the answers short, just for a few minutes. Please, Botond, if you may.
I would encourage any dialogue taking place in the room. You can ask from the fellows, you can ask from the Cardinal, of course, and any other person being present in the room. Henning, please.
Let me try the icebreaker question.
Thank you.
The issue of overcoming the nation state. What was your experience in that? How does that feel? Because I have experience coming from the history also that identity, being European, gives in some moments perhaps not enough guidance. So we need that nationality. But as the Cardinal said, we have to overcome it also. What was your experience with that?
I think I had a very important experience living for a long time in Japan. And Japan is a nation state, so there is a Japanese nation. We have many fellow Jesuits who got Japanese nationality, but they do not belong to the Japanese nation. That is very well defined. And in crisis, like now with COVID, the country is very easily closed down. So they just care for their nation state at that moment. And a nation state does politics for its own advantage. And there is not necessarily a kind of will of dialogue. China, for instance, is presenting itself as a nation state, even if it isn't. Now we know that there are, even among the Han, the Chinese people, that there are diversities like the Aka, which are more or less in Singapore and that part. But then we have the Uyghurs, we have the Tibetans, and so on. But the policy of the government and the party is to make a nation state with strong symbols. And we know it from our European history. So we had nation states. And these nation states first came to colonialism because, of course, they thought that their nation was the most superior, so they could profit from other people. And then they were fighting each other. I am very much for patriotism. I am Luxembourg citizen. I'm very proud to be Luxembourger. But I'm also proud to be European at the same time. And when you leave Europe, you notice that you are European. Living in Japan, meeting French people, Hungarian people, meeting people from Russia, I felt that they were common Europeans, that we had something in common which was different from the United States, which was different from Japan. And I was very curious. I checked out in history if it were the same. And I read the letters the Jesuits had written from China in the 17th and 18th century. And they always described themselves as Européens. And they traveled, for instance, on English ships. And they, being French, for instance, were part of the Royal Society in London. So there was a European identity present. And now for us it's so common. But I got really shocked when at the beginning of COVID, Germany closed its border with Luxembourg. You know, Luxembourg is a very small country. If everybody closes the border, it becomes very narrow in there. And then the ugly thing was that this closing of the border was more or less the same date we commemorated the invasion of Nazi Germany in World War II. So all of a sudden, old feelings came up. I had not thought that such feelings and expression of the feelings were still possible in Europe. It was like a catastrophe. Fortunately, everything calmed down, and we are again in the same situation of friendship as we have been before. It had also one good effect, because you know, many Luxembourgers buy houses in Germany, France, Belgium, because housing is also a big problem in Luxembourg. You know. And they are not registered there, because they want to send their kids to school in Luxembourg, because they should learn German and French. You know. But then they had to register, because they had to live in the nation state where the house was. So we have the open borders, and it's fantastic to have it. But nation state alone has brought havoc to the world. I mean, there are different theories how nation state came up now. You could say from French, the time of French Enlightenment, from administration, which got more central, more developed, French Revolution, and so on. But nation state was imitated all over the world. It was the big European exploitation hit. Look just to Thailand. I studied a little bit of Thai history. So you had the kingdom of Ayutthaya, which was a city kingdom, and it was very huge, very big, but the further you were from the center, the bounds, administrative bounds, got much looser. Now Thailand is a nation state. When you go to cinema, they start, everybody gets up, you sing the national hymn. It's a different world. And then they get nation state gets interpretation of history. Like nation state as the normal outcome of history before, but it's wrong. Even in Luxembourg, we had a revolt against the French Revolution troops. And in my childhood, we were reading that as the first awakening of Luxembourgish nationalism, conscience. Of course, it was not true. When we became independent in 1839, we had no national conscience yet. It developed in the 19th century afterwards. So nation state is a lot about power. And yeah, I prefer service to power.
Thank you very much. We have a question from Lucas, and if there is a second question, then we can locate the microphone. You can also ask from the fellows, and we take housing offers for Emanuela.
Yes, this is Lucas. I'm a friend of some of the former fellows, and I did enjoy many conversations in the ELP houses over plenty of beers. They're usually enlightening. I would like to, Cardinal, I would like to follow up on East Asia, and you mentioned the service as a central leadership skill. I myself studied in Taiwan, and I was fascinated by the exchange with Buddhism, with Taoism, visiting Japan, Shintoism, Confucianism, all these philosophies or religions which do not really fit into the boxes we have here, we have developed here. Well, the Jesuits have a long or an old tradition of serving the Chinese emperor. And as far as I understand, the approach from the 16th century wasn't eventually continued, but it was putting together Western and Eastern religion, putting together Christianity and Buddhism and different elements. So as a cardinal, but more of as a person, do you believe in the synthesis, in the combination of monotheism, of Christianity, and of Eastern religion?
Oh, yes, I believe. I think Taiwan is particular because you have a renaissance of Buddhism in Taiwan, which is not the case in Japan. As I said, we cannot ask religion from our students because it's considered as private by the Japanese state. But if we asked, 97% probably would say no religion, which doesn't mean that they are not religious, but they do not have a religious affiliation. And when I first was in Japan, I just was overwhelmed that everything was different, even things which looked much alike. And I remember being in our chapel and praying, Lord, show me where you are in this country, because you are there. And he is certainly present in Buddhism and Confucianism, perhaps not in every detail, but he's present in Japanese culture, in the wand of harmony which exists in Japan. And when we are positive to a different culture and to a different religion, then I think we can see the presence of the living God also in these places. And then we can speak with people with respect. Because you know the story when Francis Xavier had nearly convinced somebody for being baptized, and in his theology Francis Xavier was convinced that everybody who was not baptized would go to hell. So he was very eager then to baptize people out of love for the people. And then the man asked him, but when you say that, that means that my father, my grandfather, my ancestors, they are in hell. He said, yes. But I'm sorry, but then I cannot be baptized. I have to be with my ancestors. That's a mistake which is done when you do not see God present. And we have the Second Vatican Council in Nostra Aetate. There are some very nice words about the other religions, also of Buddhism. And I must say I like Buddhism. I have Buddhist friends. We have in our faculty of theology at Sophia sometimes young Buddhist priests who come for studying Catholic theology. You know that the monks in Japan are married, and I remember one wedding of a Buddhist monk and a very young, active, wonderful Japanese Catholic lady. And it's a very nice couple.
Thank you, Cardinal. Questions to the fellows, to the panelists? Bart.
Hi. Yes, I would like to know from the fellows, we've seen some testimonies whether you would be willing to share some of your personal experiences and like your personal highlight, if some of you would share that just for us to understand what you did during the past 5 months, that would be great. Thanks.
We get you the mic so that you can reply. Can we get the mic to the fellows? Who would first take the challenge? Maybe two or something. Marlene, please. Can you just stand up and...
Yes, okay, I will stand up. I'm Madeleine and I'm from Germany. And I remember this one evening when our Christmas party was cancelled and we organized a Christmas party for ourselves. And I remember that on this evening we were singing a song. It was quite funny because this song usually is a Christmas song and we rephrased it and put ELP inside, and this was really a moment when I felt ownership within this program, and I felt a community we all created. So I think this is one moment I really liked, and yeah, I just wanted to share it, but perhaps someone else would also like to share.
Thank you very much. One more sharing, Ida, please.
So I'm gonna go here so I'm not hiding you. I don't want that. So I think it was around November when we went on a two-day retreat in the mountains with Father Peter leading us there quite successfully. No one got lost on the way. And so basically for a whole weekend we were somewhere, don't know where exactly, to be honest. I was just following you. Out in the nature, all of us together living as a community, praying, reflecting, discussing a lot. And I remember I was thinking, okay, this is really peculiar. Like, how did I end up here, you know, with these people that I've been knowing for 1 month, and now we're all here together living, you know, like a family in many ways. And it was quite challenging, I must say, because you are facing, as we've been saying, people from different backgrounds, cultures, ideas, but it was quite successful in gaining some more introspection, learning, sharing. And I think that's what we're trying to point out here, you know, this community, this advantage that the program offers to see something different from what we would maybe usually see in our own bubbles. And I think that's something I'm getting out of this. If it makes any sense, or responding to your question.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Maybe the left wing or the right wing, if you wish. Thank you.
Baby, we're here.
Thank you very much. My name is Andreas. I am from Austria. I would like to pick up where Ida has ended with the retreat. It was great because we were walking over green pastures through the rain to a little island in the forest called Quartier Galais. Yeah? Yes. And to see these green pastures and to be among cows, a donkey, was it sheep? Chicken. And very kind cats. That was a humbling experience after, so that we wouldn't become big heads who only live in the Brussels bubble ourselves. It was a great place and a great moment to reflect and get to know each other and to be connected to earth, soil, and the universe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Unless someone wants to share, then we had a question here. Thank you for the sharings.
Thank you very much. So also to the graduates, considering that we, as Your Eminence said, we are entering a time where leadership becomes more demanding, as like you also need to lead with people who are other, and we become more aware of that, and it might be even leading people whose belief go against the very values that you try to portray. Like, what in the program was like your takeaway, or how did it change how you want to be a leader, or what was your takeaway for the program specifically for your leadership to come?
Thank you. Who takes this challenge? You are used to challenges. Jean-Thomas. Okay, second semesters also can eventually take part. Maybe the presence of the microphone will help.
Loud enough if I just say everything starts with oneself. That's really all. Because to the online people, everything starts with oneself. That's the biggest takeaway.
Hand it over. Yes, Daniel.
Hello, everyone. It's Daniel from Hungary, and now almost a graduate. So about the leadership thing, I was wondering. Sorry, Peter. So far. So the thing was, probably the most challenging, that everyone had an idea about what to do, when to do it, who should be invited, and what should we do. And in this case, probably the leadership is equals negotiation. Negotiation in a sense that you do not enforce your own opinion, but you find a common ground with at least half of the people. If it's 2/3, you just won the debate. If it's you alone, it does not matter, because there is going to be a new weekend when you can propose your own thing, when you find a place, a museum, a park to walk somewhere, a cafe to try out, or just to let's go to Antwerp and see it. So you can always have another chance to propose, but you need yeah, it's not for you, but with others, as the Cardinal said. So probably that was the biggest mistake for the cohort itself, and probably this is the most interesting bit, that it's not leading against others, but leading with others for the joint.
And the last answer.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Simon. I'm from Germany. Yeah, I would continue the point of Andreas actually, and that it's like, let's say the two main takeaways for me are, first of all, like the importance of self-reflection, and the second one, and maybe I connect this with a question to Barbara, is that institutions need to be there for the people, no, for the persons, like His Eminence said. So my question for you would then be, how would you see the capacity of this community, which we are now all proud of belonging to, in regard to several reform processes which are currently ongoing? Like, I'm from Germany, we have now a big debate about several dimensions of the German Catholic Church. So I was wondering, like, if we now reflect on our capacity to reflect on our institutions, what would be like your opinion? Like, how can we also like lead within our own institution and our own family?
Barbara, this is for you. You find the microphone next to you. We heard Luxembourg, now we want Flanders.
Oh, I think the Cardinal already answered by throwing a few ideas here. I think you will have to follow your own leading idea. You can work together for the common good, but you need also to clearly see before you what your goal, what your personal goal is. I also heard here the intervention from the speaker. You need sharp contours, and that doesn't have to conflict with interaction and diversity. You need to know who you are yourself and be proud of your personal identity to be able to work with others and achieve a common goal. You need to know yourself to start with, and keep believing and adapting to the situation. Yeah, I liked the intervention of keep adapting to the situation and do the best you can. And it's like waiting until the right wave comes into the surf and jumping into it every time it presents itself, and then building one by one further to proceed. That's the way I experience my
Thank you so much.
endeavors and my very uncommon trajectory.
Thank you very much. Thank you for responding. I have the duty now here to cut the questions and answer session. We will have a reception thereafter where you can anyway continue. So I hand it back to Annika.
Thank you very much. Now we would like to ask for your patience until we reconstruct the stage a bit and we get ready for handing over the certificates and for the graduation moment itself. proceed, and we will call the fellows one by one to the stage, starting with Andrea Scarpello. Andreas Sprischl. Andy Prativi. Anthis Tsakalidou. Arthur Hönig. Balin Daniel Kalotai. Emanuele Busagli. Ida Paraskeva. Jean-Thomas Penne. Jose Maria Arroyo Nieto. Camilla Kirai. Madeleine Werner. Marcel Farkas. Simon Happersberger. And now we continue with the second semester fellows. Joanna Stefanova. Pauline Courtey. Emanuela Pizano. Lucia Korčugova. Sebastiano Bertagni. After this special graduation moment, we will give the floor to Botond Feledy for his closing remarks.
After such a glorious moment, it's not only a new phase of your life that begins, but also the rain outside. And the watershed and the storms waiting for us requires that you start deep diving. And this bubble here that we call Brussels is waiting for these divers that I hope we made of you. We did not promise that you will be professional at the end of the 5 months. What we tried, and I hope we did not fail, is to provide you with a toolbox to which you can always go back and turn on when needed. To remember the moments from the retreats, from the sharings, from the speakers, and I hope that some of them might come back to you in 10 years or in 15 years when you will be prime ministers, commissioners, or maybe an NGO leader in Lebanon. Who knows? I wish you that you can come back in these memories. Now the ingredient that we added to this bubble in your shape is actually, I hope, special, because what makes you different from the rest of the Blue Book trainees, of the Schumann trainees, of the lovely NGO people, is that we tried to push you to reflect on your vocation discernment, so that you are not just blindly following the winds that we have experienced yesterday, but that you have those ideas, maybe a mission, information, a mission that you want to clarify in the next years to come, and that you are not just a career bureaucrat, you are not just an engaged NGO person, or you are not just a corporate ladder climber, but that you are somewhat special doing your mission. Now the second ingredient that we added, hopefully again, to the bubble through you is the mentioning since the beginning of this program of these two words that are so special to us in JESC, social justice. And social justice is not an abstraction. I hope that this is something that you take away from the 5 months. Social justice in your everyday work, when you have seen whether the DG or the unit or the NGO was diverse or not, or just or not. What did it meet in the standards and what did it not meet in the standards? Legitimate criticism is valid. This also came through in your research papers about mining, about housing, and even about the conflict on the border of Russia and Belarus and Poland. We have been talking about it, and Brussels is the place during your traineeship time where you understand that social justice is in the making. And this is the reply to Simon's question, that actually you are part of these institutions and you are constructing it with your presence very much. And fortunately, you cannot escape from this responsibility. And this is why we hope that this toolbox will be very, very useful for you. Now talking about social justice when we are just 2 inches away from war is making this graduation a sadly special moment. And I guess that we all understand that the ultimate enemy of social justice is war. And neither my generation nor some of the previous ones have not experienced it. I wish we wouldn't, but we have to have a screenplay if we do. And that will change just as much as Cardinal explained about the digitalization. And something that we did not talk about today, but as a JESC event, we cannot let it happen without mentioning it, is ecology and climate justice. So we have quite few plates on our and your tables to manage in the next years, and I'm sure that there will be moments when you despair. And at those moments, I wish that you can think back of ELP, and you can potentially reach out to Peter, to other Jesuits, to your coaches, to us, and to the alumni that you are starting now to be member of and part of, and a constructive part of a new institution, which is the ELP alumni. So I'm really wishing you that you can embrace this change, that you do not fear, and that you are happy in your mission. Thank you. Actually, I also have to thank my colleagues, Gianmarco and Enike, in preparing this event, Soraya and Felipe and Adriana coming, joining us, also helping a lot. Frank Janin, the president of JESC, hiding in the last row, but still a very important part of our mission here, as well as Matthias taking the photos with Soraya. There is one more farewell to say, and that is Gianmarco Palermo. Gianmarco, you know that Gianmarco has joined JESC as a fellow, so he is actually a recruit of ELP in JESC. He was a fellow for a semester, and then he slowly, gradually became an officer in JESC and took up the ELP officer position for the last many semesters. I'm extremely grateful personally and also as an institution to Gianmarco, and I'm glad that he also found a new adventure and a new challenge for his own mission in life. And Gianmarco, without any going further, please let me thank you if you would come out. So now it really is up to us to take this evening further. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, fellows, for staying with us. Thank you for those who followed us through Facebook or YouTube. And thank you again to our panelists and everyone else in the room who was really taking this evening with JESC and with European Leadership Program. Thank you.
The last sentence from my side. Also, thank you to all of you, and I would like to invite you to the reception and enjoy the rest of the evening.